Hello guys, the purpose of this video is to assist you in creating APA citations for your paper. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a citation using a web source and walk you through the process. At the beginning of this document here, you will see the list of information that you need to create an APA citation for a web source. So let's start at the very beginning. Your citation begins with the title of the author or the corporate author. After that information, you place a period. Now, you'll notice as I scroll down the sample, when you include author information, you actually include the last name followed by a comma and the initial of the author. In the event you have multiple authors, I'm going to scroll down here and you'll see an example of the way to cite a web page that has multiple authors. Notice again, we've got the last name, comma, and first initial. If you have two authors, you include the ampersand and then format the second author the same way. For three authors, you'll see very similar. You never use the author's first name, just the first initial. After you include the author information, you include the date of publication of that web page. The date of publication should appear in parentheses and be followed by a period. So here in my sample, you'll see that I have the year, comma, the month, and the day. If the month can be abbreviated, then you should do that. After the date of publication followed by a period, next you include the title of the actual web page, and if you have a subtitle, you'll include that as well. Notice the capitalization here is that you capitalize the first letter of the title and the first letter of the subtitle, which is denoted by this colon here. You only capitalize other words if they're proper nouns. Other than that, every other word should be in lowercase. At the end of the title of the web page, you place a period. And then finally, you're going to incorporate the URL from the web page, but you're going to make sure that that's not a hyperlink. So let's go ahead and walk through the process of actually creating this sample citation that you see here. I'm going to use this particular web page, and here we go. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the author information. So what you do is you span or scan the top part of the web page. Normally, if there's author information, it'll either be included here, or you scroll down to the bottom, and oftentimes author information will appear somewhere toward the bottom or even in the copyright information at the end. It just so happens that I noticed down here that this editor for this particular page is Jim Wilson, so that will be the author that I include in my citation. So what I have is Wilson, comma, J period. The next thing I need is the date of publication. So I'm going to go back to that web page. And I notice here, down here, the page was last updated October 23rd, 2010. Now you notice if I scroll up to the top of the page, there's a date here. This 5/15/09 is when the page was probably originally created, but I want to go with the most recent updated version. So you always check at the bottom. And again, for this one, I'm going to include the date October 23rd, 2010. If you have a date range, say for example, you have 2010 through 2015, you're just going to use the most recent date. So I'm going to go back to my sample, and I've included here that date in the middle of the page. I want to correct that and change that to the October 23rd date that I saw at the bottom. Now, what I just previously mentioned in passing is for your date of publication, let's say on your web page, you see something that looks like this. Right? You're going to include only the most recent date. So in that case, you would just include the year. And sometimes that's all you'll have. You won't necessarily have the month and the day. Right. The next thing that goes in the citation is the actual title of the actual web page. So back over here, I'm going to scan up to the top. And I need to make sure I get the title of this web page. Now, I notice here that this says International Space Station, but I believe that that actually goes with the image that I have here. The actual article that I would be reading and possibly using in my paper is this here. NASA astronaut watches new Star Trek movie in space. So that would be the title that I would put in my citation. Notice I put it there. NASA is all capitalized because it is an acronym, thus it has to be all capitalized. But none of the other words except for this proper noun here should be in capital letters. All right, once I put that information in, the last thing that I do is I copy in the URL. So I would go back to this web page, go up here and I'd copy my URL, and then I'd paste it into my citation. Now, the problem with doing that is generally when you do that, you'll see that it creates a hyperlink. Okay? A hyperlink is noted by the fact that this is underlined, and if I were to click on it, it would go to that actual web page. You need to remove that hyperlink so that the text appears in all black and not in blue and it's not underlined. So this is how you actually create a citation for a web page. A few other things that I've included on this document to assist you. Again, here's some helpful hints for arranging author information. A reminder that the title of websites and web pages, only the first word of the title, subtitle, and proper nouns are capitalized. Your publication date should be written in military format. And be sure to remove the hyperlinks from your URLs. If you guys need any assistance in looking over your citations, you can email me at woodra@lcsedu.net, or you can share your paper with me at that same address. Thanks.